Hi empaths, welcome back to my channel and back to Journey Through the Tarot. This week we're going to talk about our experience with the Queen of Wands and introduce the history, symbolism, and divination of the King of Wands. And the next week we start with the Cups. So I'm very excited. This journey is inspired by Dirty and Divine, a transformative journey through Tarot by Alice B. Grist. She spent a day with each card. We're doing a week. And we're getting a lot of information from one of my tarot teachers, Robert M. Place, his book, The Tarot History, Symbolism, and Divination. And we're using the Waite-Smith symbolism from the Rider Tarot deck. This one. If you need any of those items, my Amazon store is linked in the description. It'll help me out if you purchase it there. So let's get into it. Let's talk about our week with the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands symbolizes a fire sign female, and I definitely resonate with that. I'm a Sagittarius, so I felt like it was my week almost. Although I had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of setbacks, but I felt like, sometimes we get sprung back so that we can move forward with more momentum. This week, I participated in not the entire week, although it went on for the entire week. It was called a comeback challenge, hosted by Tony Robbins. And I attended Unleashing the Power Within in 2014. I'm a firewalker. Where are my fellow firewalkers? Let me know in the comments. I really needed that boost. And then I today signed up for UPW virtual. They're doing their first virtual Unleashing the Power Within. So I signed up for that today. I'm really excited. I feel like it's the boost I really need. This week I also purchased a lot of books about Italian mysticism and German mysticism. I was talking about this, I think, the very first week of this journey, where when I visited my friend, who's also Queen of Wands, funny enough, Krista, she lives in Canada. She's an amazing crystal teacher and healer. She was telling me, because I was saying, I want to really connect to something, the system or modality I'm working with, and I want to really feel fully connected to it. And she was saying, look at your ancestral history, look at your ancestral system. And this is after I studied family constellation therapy, which is about healing ancestral trauma. So I really resonated with that. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I looked into, and I'm Italian, I'm mostly Italian. On my mom's side, she's full-blooded Italian, and then my dad's family is German and Dutch. So I was looking into that, and I purchased a lot of books on that. I got a couple of new tarot decks to work with, and a lot of books about powerful women. And then as I was sort of researching German mysticism, I came upon Hildegard von Bingen, which I had heard of her before, but I didn't know a lot about her. And I saw that there was a movie about her on Amazon Prime. So I watched it. It's called Vision. There's a few on there about her, but the one I watched was in German and there were English subtitles. And the more I watched, I was just amazed, because I really felt like, upon reflection, I felt like, oh, wow, she's really a Queen of Wands type of character. I mean, she was a Benedictine nun who was then voted in as the abbess, and then which is probably more of a high priestess type of vibe, but she was definitely not silent. She was definitely outspoken, which I found very empowering to watch. I really resonated with her. There were some things I didn't quite understand or resonate with in her story, but for the most part, I felt like, wow, I feel really connected to her. And interestingly, part of my homework for my business alchemy program, I had an individual session a few weeks ago with my mentor. She was saying that my vortex might be in transition right now, and because that's how I explained it to her. I felt like it was in transition, and what we do is we work with archetypes in the inner wheel, and then we create an inner circle, outer circle. Inner circles, people that we know personally that are supporting us in our purpose, that have attributes, right? We kind of create an archetype with people. In the inner circle, it's people we know personally that are in our lives supporting us, or, we've had contact with, had conversations with. We don't have to really be in contact now, but it's somebody that we feel supports us, we know personally. And then in the outer circle, it's people we haven't met. It could be archetypes that we resonate with. Any kind of spirit guide or whatever it is, we put it in the outer circle. And so it's interesting. I felt like I didn't know why I was so drawn to watch this movie and research her, but I felt like, wow, here's someone I can put in my outer circle. She was a Benedictine nun, took vows of chastity, was a very disciplined woman, and would have visions that some people thought were of the devil, right? Mostly men were saying that. And but a lot of the priests were really amazed by her abilities, and they believed in her. They believed it was from God, and she was connecting with light, is how she described it. And she would get information about healing with herbs and crystals, and I thought that was incredible. I had no idea. In one of the scenes, there was an ill woman in a bed who was going a bit mad, and I guess she was giving into rage, and Hildegard gave her chrysoprase and said, "Here, put this on your throat and allow it to take away the rage." I was like, wow. I wanted to text everybody that I knew to watch that, because particularly my friend Krista, because I was just so excited that I felt like I found this kind of spirit guide, right, to put into my outer circle of my business vortex, because wow, she works with herbs and she works with crystals, and she was very outspoken and very just and wise, and right, she stood up for justice and protected the women right in her charge and all of that. And I just felt so inspired by that, empowered by her, listening to her story. I wanted to text everybody, but I didn't want to miss anything either, because it was all in German, and then there were subtitles, which I really appreciated. I really liked hearing the language of my ancestors, right? And then there were other movies about her that I started to watch, but I didn't connect with as much. They were in English, and they were using, I guess, German dialect, but I didn't really connect to it. So that was really cool. And I thought that was perfect for the Queen of Wands week, to have a visionary, right? Because fire is represented by the wands. She has a sunflower and as her staff, as her staff, right? And she's independent, right? Chaste, hello, right? And more magnetic than the king because she's the feminine, right? The feminine counterpart, which is the receptive part, right? So Hildegard von Bingen was receiving information. She wasn't seeking it. She wasn't actively trying to develop her psychic senses, right? That we might do now. She just had this gift. And the visions would come to her. And I found that very inspiring because part of me, as I started to ground into my body and embody more fully, I started to worry that I wouldn't be able to do as much intuitive work, that the impressions would be lost because I was becoming more grounded. And what I realized was I don't have to come up and out and attempt to attune. This came in one of I think the crystal readings. I think this past week I did a hematite reading, and this is part of the information that came through there because hematite's such a grounding stone. What came in was I don't have to come up and out to merge or attune with energies, psychic impressions, anything like that. This is a lesson I learned earlier this year. Things mentally, but experientially is a different story. To embody the information is different. And I started to embody this wisdom of, I can allow that to come to me. Like Hildegard von Bingen, right? They were coming to her. She wasn't chasing it. She wasn't forcing it. She wasn't trying to make it happen. And that is more of a feminine approach, right? Than coming out and trying to chase something, softening your gaze, getting into a meditative trance, allowing things to come to you. That is more feminine. So I was inspired by that. I'll put her in my outer circle for my business vortex. Bought books of other powerful women of all different backgrounds, heritages, races, and just wanting to kind of get a broader perspective of things. Also with the Queen of Wands, that illumination, right? The wands are also feeling oriented, passion, creativity. The way Robert Place describes them is the feeling orientation, the suit of feeling. And I also see it as fire is the qualities of fire, right? And fire is about illumination, the truth, humor. Part of the humor that was coming in this week, my best friend and I were sharing a lot of messages on Facebook Messenger, and you can just send like GIFs of just stupid stuff, and we were just like having full conversations in just GIF form, and I was laughing so hard. It was so funny. Just sometimes we'll go through a phase where we'll just remind each other of all of our inside jokes, and I laughed so much this week just from doing that. It was so funny. So a lot of humor, which is very fire oriented. Also, a lot of truth is being illuminated right now. Things are being revealed from people's past, right, coming to light, particularly in the YouTube community, things I wasn't aware of, and shocking things that I didn't know about. And it shifted my perception of some of these people that I was sort of admiring. And I had to rethink that. So if you know, you know. I'm not going to bring up names, but that was very concerning to me. Because it's one thing to be ignorant and to grow. I've been there, right? Like, we aren't, we can't escape that corruption because we're we're sort of indoctrinated into it, right? The way things are taught, we're taught lies, particularly history class, right? That's not the truth. And I think it's so important to know the truth so that we're not basing our perceptions and our strategies and things like that on delusion, complete delusion. That's why it's interesting that when I hear people saying, like, in regards to sort of the removal of statues and things like that, that have like racist roots, saying don't erase our history. I find that so delusional in a way, because I mean, not even just in a way, it's, do you really not understand, right? When people say that, I'm like, do you really not understand what that represents? And don't erase our history. Are you kidding? Do you not get what happened there? And it's so very frustrating. It's very hard for me to maintain patience around, I mean, I know that there was a time where I was really in the dark. I really didn't understand. But I feel like in the information age, how can you avoid finding these things out? How can you avoid not knowing? It's very frustrating to me that, even the fact that we still call Native Americans Indians, really, I'm not going to anger myself, but I feel a lot of frustration around that. And I can't believe the hypocrisy there. So, I mean, people that I might otherwise consider intelligent, when they say things like that, I have to, it shifts my perspective a lot. I don't have a lot of tolerance for that. Although I understand that I was there once too, where I didn't understand how much history is fabricated. But I would never have an outspoken opinion about it if I knew that, I would assume maybe there's something I don't know and look into it. I wouldn't just assume I know everything. That's what I don't understand. People hear the language that, the language of the times, and I think this came up before in another week. People hear the language that people that are speaking out for social justice use, and they don't understand the language. So they assume things instead of educating themselves. And the information is everywhere. You don't have to just assume. You can research now. You can look up information. All right, I'm getting really irritated. I'm gonna change subjects here, but that's something that's come up a lot. So it blows my mind a little bit. I mean, there's still stuff I don't know. That's why I continue to educate myself, but is there really any excuse in the year 2020, right? Anyway, I was also looking up, because today I'm recording this on Monday, which is interesting. So today was the last day of the challenge, the comeback challenge, with Tony Robbins, and I was tuning in today, and a topic that came up was learned helplessness, and I really related to everything that was said about that, and trying to get out of the blame game and find ways to really empower myself into action and to get more clarity around actions that I need to take for career, whatever else, right? To get my dreams made instead of, just dreaming, getting into action. And I'm excited that we're moving into the King Week, because that's what the King's all about, right? And I feel the momentum, particularly after, the Tony Robbins stuff. He'll motivate me into action. I know when I went to UPW in 2014, I was really changed for quite a long time. But you'll find yourself in the same environment that you were in before, and it you can only maintain that for so long if there's not other people around you on board with it. So I could definitely use a refresher on that. And it did really change my life at the time. And I'll forever have that metaphor of walking, of fire walking, right? Anytime I have fear, well, you walked on fire, right? So you can face whatever comes. So what that brought up for me was being very aware that I'm a dreamer type, for sure, and what might be a benefit of that. Like really trying to focus on what my strengths are instead of agonizing over my weaknesses. Like, what are the strengths? Because I was really inspired by Hildegard von Bingen, and she had such vision. So I was really interested in knowing what might be the strengths of a dreamer. And then what came in was, I think it was INFP, one of the most rare, if not the rarest, what's that called? Those different types. I can't remember. It'll come to me, but it's just not it's not in the front of my brain. But you know what I'm talking about. And then, so the P stands for perception. And that word has been coming up a lot this week. I don't know a lot about that system. I don't know that I've ever taken that test or whatever, but I related to a lot of the information that came in around that type, sometimes called the dreamer. Oh, and I saw on another website it was called the mediator, and I was looking into what does it mean to be a mediator, and how do you become, what is mediation, and I don't know why that came in, but something called to me about that, to look into that. I have a friend who actually does a lot of mediation. I think he has a law degree though. I don't know why that came in for me. because I had been exploring before. Like, I just don't want to waste my ability to learn, my intelligence. I want to make use of that. I am very intuitive, but I have other strengths as well. So I just want to, capitalize on all of that and serve the purpose I'm here to serve. And I've just really been exploring different avenues right now and what would be in the best alignment for me and my strengths. And because I was thinking about law, and I realized that's not really about the truth. It's about taking a side and creating a narrative around that. And I'm not really interested in doing that. Anytime I feel like something isn't fully authentic, like I did real estate for a while, and I was so bankrupt. My soul was so bankrupt. I just couldn't tolerate it. It was the lowest low I feel like maybe I've ever felt. It just was not in alignment. And I didn't understand how bad that can feel when you're doing something that's just not in alignment with your purpose, with your values, right? It was just, and I'm sure there was another real estate firm or maybe approach that would have been more in alignment, but I just didn't have anything more to give. It just took everything. So I had to just get back to what I knew, what was familiar, and kind of restore myself. That was shortly before I moved out of New York. And yeah, listening to Tony talk about his daughter and encouraging her to follow her dreams and take massive action. He's all about massive action, which is why I feel like that's why that happened today. And I signed up for UPW virtual. Like, we're moving into the King of Wands week. And I feel like he's probably a pretty good representative of that. And that's happening mid-July, if you're interested. It's upwvirtual.com, I think. And I'm really excited about that, about participating in that. I think that's everything. Oh, I did, my former roommate and friend, Jen, is doing like hour-long training, like group training, workout Zoom sessions, and she's an air sign, but her approach was just so much fun, and it was a good workout. But she just has an amazing sense of humor and such a great personality. And I was telling her after, I was like, that was so good. Like, what a great workout, first of all. And it was just so engaging and entertaining just because of her personality too. So I was really impressed. It was just so much fun. So that was interesting. And then I think this week we'll be recording the next podcast episode for the Rant podcast. It will be part 2 of like a second installment of our session with Andre Jordan. So I'm really excited about that. That'll be really cool. Yeah, I think that's about it. That was my week with the Queen of Wands. I'm excited to get all my books and research, and the idea I have for creating an online class is just, it's so strong in my mind, and I just want to make sure that like it's an idea I've had for a very long time, and names are coming in now, and sometimes that's how the creative process works for me. Oh, because Queen of Wands is receptive, right? And then the King puts it into action. So I'll probably be doing a lot of work on that. And that's probably why the timing of, I'm creating a class or training about trauma with my friend Krista that I was talking about earlier. And time-wise, it hasn't quite worked out yet to really get the details solidified, but I'm pretty sure this is the week that we'll do that. And it's all timing out, right? I mean, I never worry, particularly when I'm working with these archetypes and I'm doing something that's timed out. It's just, you can't help but trust, because, I mean, you're setting those intentions, right? So that was my week with the Queen of Wands. There was probably more, but I don't quite remember everything. Oh, something else was, I'm going to try to move on and then something else will come in. Something else that came in was, my mentor, we had a business alchemy meeting. We're having one they're usually every other week, but we've been having them every week. And something that came up this past week was talking about, as we heal the layers of something, right? And we're working on breaking a pattern. I don't know if I talked about this last week. I might have. No, because I think this is what happened this past week. So Shelley Poovey from Body Attune was talking about how we'll think we've healed something, right? Or moved on, progressed past this pattern. And then just as we think that, sort of the last remnants of it will surface for healing, for release, for digestion. It'll almost feel like a splinter, right? Like we'll just be very aware of it. And we might find that we're backpedaling or have a setback around it. And it's really just sort of the last remnants of it coming to surface to heal and release. And sometimes that can also be our threshold. So as we strengthen the nervous system around being able to maintain success or maintain connection or maintain presence, whatever it is, we do have a threshold that we're stretching. So we might find that we hit the threshold and it feels very uncomfortable, and we backtrack a little bit. So can we celebrate and really anchor in the progress? Maybe that's something that's coming in for you this week. I know it came up for me a lot in different areas that I thought I had healed and I was celebrating, oh, I healed it, broke the pattern. Then it sort of showed up again in a huge way, and I was scared. I felt out of control. She also sent us a list of I don't remember what the list was for. It was kind of like ascension symptoms, right? You've probably seen that before, but I can't remember what it was really related to. If it was the title of the list was something about symptoms of this upgrade or ascension or healing, something like that. And one of the things was anxiety, and that's been coming in for me huge. Really been dealing with that, trying to manage that. I mean, I think that's a lot of my struggle is managing anxiety, managing stress, depression, particularly with a very sensitive nervous system. And trying to find ways to manage it naturally. And I looked that up. I looked that up, and it can be related to a B6 deficiency, vitamin B6 deficiency. So I looked at my vitamins and made sure there was plenty of B6 in there. And then what helps your body absorb and utilize that. And what else? There was also something about eating more chicken and dairy, which I haven't been doing very much of, but and I don't know that I fully 100% agree, but I definitely am aware that going fully plant-based has been hard on my system in the past. It has given me sort of like an odd feeling in my head, disorientation, sometimes, feeling not being able to manage anxiety. So I could see that, although I don't think I've been perfect when I've done that. So there were probably huge holes in my nutrition and things like that. But anyway, I feel like I'm going on and on. I don't want to get lost in this. So that's all I'll share. But yeah, that was my Queen of Wands week. Let me know what your week was like with the Queen of Wands in the comments of this video. Let's move in to the King of Wands. So, introducing the King of Wands, the history from Robert M. Place. So, in the Golden Dawn's teachings on the Tarot, the kings are said to represent potential power, but the Golden Dawn also switched the rank of the knight and the king, putting the king in the highest position. Smith's kings, putting the knight in the highest position. So, the Golden Dawn put the knight in the highest position, and in the Smith deck, Waite-Smith deck, the Smith's kings are the masters of their elements, and with their thrones and crowns, they are clearly in the most powerful position. The King of Wands' companion is the living fire elemental, the salamander. As you can see, he is comfortable and at home like the queen, and looking out with anticipation like the knight and page. His emblem is both the lion and the salamander. He is dressed in red and green, fire and leaves. He has a gold pendant in the form of a lion's head. All of the kings relate to one of the symbols of the four evangelists found in the corners of the World card. The King of Wands is related to the Lion of St. Mark, which is also associated with Leo, a fixed sign of the zodiac connected to the element fire. Like Leo, the King of Wands is brave, generous, enthusiastic, and dominant. He knows what he likes and what he does not. He represents the best of all aspects of the feeling function. So that's Robert M. Place, his meaning for the king. So what might it mean if it shows up in a spread? The divinatory meaning of the King of Wands. Worldly, accomplished, authors, musicians, admirable, ambitious, direct, knows where he's going. The physical and emotional nature to which this card is attributed is dark, ardent, live, animated, impassioned, noble. He uplifts a flowering wand and wears, like his three correspondences in the remaining suits, what is called a cap of maintenance beneath his crown. He connects with the symbol of the lion, which is emblazoned on the back of his throne. And the meaning is dark man, friendly, countryman, generally married, honest, and conscientious. And Alice B. Grist's intuitive meaning, a kindly, inventive, and quirky king. He is the hippie dad with unexpected thoughts and astonishing insight. He doesn't rear up all potent and omnipotent like some of the other kings. He sits wisely with quiet and calm. He comes when ushered and brings along with him vats of potential and knowing, which he shares gladly. And then we'll end with the Biddy Tarot's meaning. Natural born leader, vision, interesting, because that was the name of the movie of Hildegard von Bingen. Entrepreneur, honor. And the divinatory meaning. The King of Wands represents pure fire energy in its masculine form. Unlike the other Wands court cards, the king is not so interested in creation and creativity or in dreaming up ideas and implementing them himself. Instead, he is more inclined to take an idea and then enlist others to help him actualize it. Thus, when the King of Wands appears in a tarot reading, it is a sign that you are stepping into the role of a visionary leader, ready to direct your people towards a common goal. You have a clear vision of where you want to go, and now you are manifesting that vision with the support of those around you. Others naturally gravitate towards you because you are charismatic, focused, and determined, and they believe in you and your vision. They want to be a part of what you are manifesting and are here to support you 100% of the way. You are also masterful at getting other people to do your work for you while keeping them on side throughout the process. The King of Wands reminds you to lead your life with intent, vision, and a long-term view. You have a grand idea of what is truly possible, and you will stop at nothing to see it through. Unlike the Knight, who can be a little impulsive with his actions, you have the maturity to see your vision through right to the end and beyond. You achieve a lot because you are clear about your future direction and how you will get there, and do not waste your time on activities or relationships you believe will lead nowhere. You never just go with the flow. Instead, you prefer to embark on a direct and robust course of action, and you are inspired by long-term sustainable success, wanting to have a lasting impact. You are here to leave a legacy. The appearance of the King of Wands also suggests that an opportunity is presenting itself to you, and you now have the power to take on the challenge. You are the determining factor in this situation. If you want it to be successful, it will. And equally, if you do not fully commit to it, this seed will struggle to blossom and grow. You can create any outcome you wish, so be mindful about your intentions and vision. You hold the power. So that's the King of Wands. And so now, let's integrate further the Queen of Wands week, that archetype, and create a stronger filter, and also integrate that archetype into our subconscious, creating a stronger connection there, more awareness around that, and then using the sound also, sending out intentions to call in synchronicities around the King of Wands experience. So you might want to close your eyes, get in touch with your breath. Beautiful. Coming back to the room. So I thank you for taking this journey with me and following through with me. Thanks for liking the video, subscribing to the channel. It lets me know that you're here with me, and it's very valuable to me. I really appreciate it. If you want a personal reading session or to donate to the channel, I really appreciate that. Those links are in the description, or to order from the Amazon store. That'll helps me out to keep these videos coming for free. I do have ideas for maybe Patreon membership, so those details will come soon once I get that into fruition, and that fleshes out a little bit more. I'll be sharing those details with you. Let me know how you're experiencing this journey with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, Empath.